Hello, my loves. I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel, where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And I want to talk to you today about reinventing yourself after narcissistic abuse, right? And just so you know, right? I believe in self-expression, authenticity, authentic power, and like being true to ourselves. And when I say reinventing ourselves, I do mean coming home into a truer version of ourselves, being prepared to reinvent ourselves free of our trauma, of our triggers, of the personality traits and identity that we have developed to survive narcissistic abuse, to really become someone we're not, right? Because in these cycles, we have to self-abandon. You have to self-abandon to survive with a narcissist. You really do. And it's bad for your spirit and it's bad for your soul. And so when you come out of these cycles, right, and during them, we often lose who we are. We lose touch with who we are inside. Yeah? It can be hard to connect to that person. And a lot of us get very hung up on who we were. We keep trying to bring back who we were because we know we haven't always been as disempowered. We get beaten down in these cycles, right? So I wanted to know that you can't be who you were in life ever because you're here to evolve and you've experienced things. But we're not meant to identify with the things we've experienced, the way people have treated us, and make it mean something about who we are, in fact, you know? It doesn't mean you are stuck in a personality that isn't yours, or that you're not completely capable of reinventing every single construct of that personality into something much truer, right? I believe our true freedom comes when we're willing to self-express truly from our hearts, right? That does not mean pushing our truth on people in non-consensual situations. It means living in a way that's true to us, no matter what anyone thinks, no matter what anyone's got to say. My truth and living true to me is of the highest importance, and I will not self-abandon, right? Which means that I experience a lot of freedom because everything I do is in alignment with that, which means that I'm not putting on an act. It means I'm not doing things in ways that aren't good for my soul. Now, there are some times in life where you're transitioning and you might do things that you don't want to be doing while you're working on this. That's absolutely okay. But I want you to know that to reinvent yourself, the starting point of this is to get true to your desires and what's in your heart, right? Because every desire, I believe, is meant for you. We live in a material world, in a physical world, and you're meant to want things. You're born for it. You're meant to. It's not an accident. It's not, the world isn't a torture chamber where you're meant to look around and see things other people have got and have, and you think, well, that's not available to me. In fact, we're meant to desire because we're meant to experience, and we're meant to allow ourselves to evolve and grow to become the person who can receive, achieve, and attract everything that we want to experience. That's our job. But we get stuck. We get stuck in who we think we now are because of what's happened to us. We get stuck in our past and who we've been, and that we think we can't be like that again. But in fact, we're meant to actually be an even better version than that when we learn our lessons and are willing to reinvent the whole thing. So our guidance is our desires, what we want to experience in this lifetime. And then we reinvent ourselves, including our personality, which is just a construct a lot of the time. A lot of our personality traits are learned strategies to cope, to survive, to get by. They're not even the truest us. The truest us is the one that is living in alignment with our vision of what we want to experience and create, right? And allowing ourselves the freedom and the authentic freedom to become it. So it doesn't really matter who you've been. You get to be the version of you that is true to you today, true to you at a higher level than what you're experiencing. So that means even if the version, you could say, well, I'm depressed now, so the version of me that I am today is depressed. That's not your truth. You're experiencing depression, but beyond that, there's still desires somewhere in you where you want to experience certain things in your life, right? So what you're living and your internal truth is two different things. And we're not meant to make ourselves identify so hard with what we're experiencing. We're meant to dig a bit deeper. and come into what kind of life do I really want to have? Because so many of us are trying to fix our problems or deciding that we've become something, because we have. In a narcissistic abuse cycle, you have become someone you're not. There's no doubt about it. You're disconnected from yourself. You're not detached from your soul, but we disconnect from our soul, our dreams, our desires, our power. We have to, right? So our job is coming home and back to those things and reinventing ourselves into a version we may never have seen before. And that's the beauty of evolution on the planet. You know, when people expect you to stay the same, or a lot of people will try and bring you back to who you were before you've done any kind of spiritual growth or awakening, because that's the bit that serves them in some way, right? Or that they think they know you as. But you're here to grow and evolve, which means you're here to reinvent yourself over and over and over again, right? In accordance to what's so true to you inside. Now, what you're experiencing emotionally is not your ultimate truth. Depression is not your ultimate truth, nor is disconnection, nor is any kind of emotional experience. But it's true, those emotions. But beyond that, there is desire. There is like deep inside of us what we really want to experience. Now our job is to reinvent ourselves to be the angelic match to that. Our job is to allow ourselves to change our expression on the planet so that we are a truer version of ourselves, not denying our emotions and the things we're going through and processing. That's just part of life, but also allowing both to be there, like our emotional experience of whatever it is, and feeding into who we came to be, who we always were inside, no matter what you've lived or what strategies you've adopted or personality traits that you may have picked up that you don't actually, they're not even real to you anymore. Yeah, or habits or constructs or just ways in which we're behaving that isn't our highest truth. Yeah, so you get to reinvent yourself. You get to reinvent yourself. You just get to decide, I want to try on what it's like to be confident. Let me figure out how to be that. I want to try on what it's like to be brave. I want to try on something else, a different experience, right? It feels, just because you've lived something a long time doesn't mean it's your ultimate truth. Your ultimate truth is what's in your heart to do, be, and have, what you want to experience. And when what we're living isn't what we desire to experience, we get to reinvent ourselves into something else, no matter what, right? Now, there is trauma to heal and things to adopt. You know, there's a way to do this where we allow ourselves to develop belief systems and new coding and new ways of being that support what we want to experience rather than what we've been living. But I need you to know that you still get to do it. You get to reinvent yourself. So what? If someone knew the version of you before, it's not the version of you today that knows more, that is more, and you're not even trying to get back to anyone that you were or thought you were. You're trying to integrate all parts of you and then kind of amplify the parts of you that you loved, that you've experienced in yourself, and change the ones that don't suit you. Right? And like living from truth means our highest truth, our heart's truth, like what's in my heart, because some of what we've been living isn't the truth for us. In fact, in narcissistic abuse cycles, we've been living a lie. And when we want to go back to the lie because it's cozy, it's because we're not willing to really trust ourselves and reinvent ourselves into who we really are. Yeah? So just knowing that you get to, yeah, you just get to. Because when your identity is trapped in something, you've identified who you are with what's been going on, what's been said about you, what's been done to you, and who you became because of it. Doesn't mean any of it was the real you. It just means it was a life experience that you got through in a certain way, and now you get to choose who you get to be and what you get to do, be, and have, right? In a new way, which requires like a relationship with ourselves and a willingness to reinvent ourselves into what we actually came to be. Yeah? There's a new version of you waiting to come through. There's a new version of you like screaming for you to like connect with it. There's a new version of you that knows how to do the things you want to do if you just let yourself reinvent yourself into them. There is a part of you that you'd have shut down, and a lot of it, if you've been in narcissistic abuse cycles, where you've just like said no to yourself all the time, where your self-expression's been wrong, who you are's been wrong, what you choose has been wrong. So you've been like often just like dampening down, making allowances, living a lie, living a life that you're not. And just not knowing what's on the other side of that isn't a good enough reason not to be willing to find out what's on the other side of that, which will involve us reinventing ourselves, having an identity that now we take control of. Yeah, what you've been through does not define you. Being abused does not define you. Doesn't define who you are. It's what happened to you. Even who you were before that, right? You still are that same person, but now you've learned a few things, right? And now you get to be even truer than that, because you get to evolve through a new level, right? And that's what we're born to do, to keep reinventing ourselves all the time. Yeah? And some people won't be able to come along with that because they were only suitable for a version of us that was narcissistically abused. Not just the narcissist. Some people in our lives, you know, maybe won't like us in our power, won't like us in our true self-expression, you know, when we've got used to having to not be our real selves. But I'm telling you, any love you get that is not for who you really are is not worth having. And even if you only get a few people on the planet that really like you and love you for who you are, that's the most worthwhile experience of external love you'll ever have. But more fundamentally important, you'll live in a free way in your life, because freedom comes from self-expression and letting ourselves be ourselves. Not self-expression so that we have to push our truth on people in non-consensual ways, but I won't deny my truth in me. I'll live a life that is true to me. Not because of what anyone else thinks. I'm not going to try and want things because other people have got things, or to keep up with people. I'm going to stay true to what's in my heart to do, be, and have. What do I want to experience in this lifetime? Yeah, and that's different for all of us. So it's not ever about ego wants or trying to want things that we actually truly don't. It's about coming home to who we really are inside, what our heart wants to experience, what we came to desire. Our soul wants to experience. The soul wants to experience this lifetime, this physical world, have certain experiences. That's what your soul yearns for. And every time we try and block that and get in the way of it, it creates resistance in the body, right? And trauma. So self-abandonment is one of the biggest traumas we have after this. And like, we've identified with someone we're not. And that's why it feels so disconnected and so hard to live that lie, right? Because everything in the narcissistic abusive relationship is a lie requiring us to live a lie. And that just separates self, right? We're not detached souls, but we get disconnected from our soul. We want to come home, right? So now I get to reinvent myself. Every single part that I now feel is not in alignment with my vision, with my heart, with my soul, with who I want to be, with what I want to experience, I get to reinvent right now. Anyone not liking that, not able to honour that, they are really connected to a past version of you. You've had an upgrade, right? So it's time to upgrade your life, reinvent yourself into who you came to be. You're just the upgraded version. You'll get upgraded friends. You'll get upgraded experiences. And it's not like a judgment on people. It's just that upgrade in terms of more aligned with what fulfillment of you. But you can't keep trying to fit into something you're not. And you've got to be willing to upgrade. Upgrade isn't what someone else thinks is better, it's what's true to you. Start with truth and be willing to reinvent yourself. Be the person you came to be, that you always wanted to be, that you want to experience now. Let go of all your old ways of like beating yourself down for wanting to be yourself. You are allowed to be yourself and not punish yourself for that, right? Yes, find ways to self-partner and keep yourself safe, absolutely. And grow through things that you learn, lessons that you learn, but don't beat yourself down for being whoever it is you are inside, right? Reinvent yourself into the person that can allow you to be that person and experience and receive everything from life that you want to from there. All right, my loves, lots of love. I'll speak to you soon.